Ever hesitated to speak up, even when you knew exactly what to say? Maybe you overthink, second guess, or play small in rooms where you should be owning your space. You're not alone. I created the Speak with Confidence workshop for women like us, high achievers, smart, experienced, who still perhaps find themselves holding back when it matters most. I'm Dr. Geneva. I've led organizations and businesses, raised over $100 million for causes I care about, and built a life of impact. And I did this by learning how to speak with clarity and power and presence. But I had to learn how to do it my way without shrinking or pretending. In this 75-minute live Zoom workshop I've created for you, happening on Thursday, May 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll show you the exact strategies I use to walk into any room, speak up, and be heard without having to change who you are. And it's just $47. So if this sounds like you, come join me. I'll show you how to speak with confidence on camera, in meetings, or anywhere your voice needs to be heard. The link is right here. Y'all, good morning, good afternoon. How's everybody? Morning time, afternoon, evening, wherever you all are coming in, whether you're here live with me or you're watching the replay. I'm delighted that you're here today. This Wednesday, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You know, we're always here, ready to bring you some good stuff, some good teaching. How's everybody doing? Let me just first say, oh, hey, Dr. Pierre, good to see you. Did you say 102 degrees in Texas, where you are? Because you're in Dallas, right? Oh my goodness, that's hot. You know, I was just getting ready to say that here in Detroit, Michigan, where you know I'm coming to you from, the weather is just glorious. And it seems like it's getting better and better every single day. So I'm delighted, but being 102, I don't know if I could take that, Dr. Pierre. But hopefully you're good, you and your family, all the great leadership work that you're doing, where you are. I'm so delighted that you're here with us this morning. And let me say good morning to the TikTok community, IG, Facebook, YouTube. Glad to have you here. We're going to have some great conversation about speaking up and why we as women in midlife, as confident as we are, really, we are. And we've been so many places, done so many things, but we still hesitate to speak up sometimes. And why is that? Well, I'm going to talk about why that is and some ways to fix that today. Uh, hey there, Teresa. Karina, thanks for coming on too. And I'm so delighted that you're here. I'm happy. I'm glad. What else is going on? Let me say, oh, how was your Mother's Day? I had a let me find out. Put some information in there. Fabulous, great day, wonderful. How's your Mother's Day, my friends over there, Girl Security and DK and Elaine? How are things for you? I had Kay. How you doing, Jeff? I had a fabulous time. Went out to dinner, saw a lot of my friends, was with family, all those good times. I love those special occasions. But you know, there have been Mother's Day where I am just as happy and content to be with myself and nobody calling my name and just relaxing. So what did you all do during Mother's Day? Let me know. And hey, Rebecca and Honey Child. Ooh, we Pat. How's everybody going? JS, Richard, and David. How are you? Welcome. Well, we're going to be talking about speaking up today. Glad to see you here. Hey, Jennifer. I'm so Hi. How are you? Okay. So, I want to get started. I want to tell you last week we had some tech problems, Wi Fi, and all of that. And I just love the fact that you all hung with me. There were so many of you who are still uh, with us. And so I'm glad about that. Thank you so much. Hey, Irma, Rose. So listen, today uh, we're talking about something that too many powerful women still wrestle with. And that's why we hesitate to speak up in times when we shouldn't. We've raised families, we've changed lives. So, why in 2025 are we still saying things like, I feel muted in meetings? I don't want to come off as too much. I'm still rehearsing what I should have said yesterday. According to Forbes, um, women are, many women over 50 feel routinely dismissed, interrupted, or overlooked, even with credentials and decades of experience. Like I know you all out there over in your midlife, your 50s, 60s, that you have. And here's what I know from working with high achieving women over 50, like many of you. This issue really isn't about lacking confidence. It's about really unlearning the roles we've been led to play, the mindsets that we've had. And that's what I want to talk about today. For those of you I haven't met yet, I'm Dr. Geneva, and I've led organizations, raised over $100 million for causes, served under 5 governors and 5 mayors. But even with all that, I know what it feels like to hold back my voice. When I started my career early on, I was the only one in the room most times who looked like me. I was young, a person of color, and a woman, and everybody else was different. And so I found myself lots of times not speaking up, not saying the things that I know I should have said, or finally getting the nerve that I thought that's what it was back then to speak up. And then my ideas were kind of met with silence. But then 5 minutes later, Joe Blow would say the exact same thing, and everyone would marvel over his idea. And so I've gone through that, but I've learned how to get over that, and I'm on the other side. And that's why today I work with high achieving women over 50 who are ready to speak their power, own the room, and stop second guessing what they already know. And this goes for us not only in the professional settings, but also in our personal relationships, because there are things that we know we should be saying to family members or our spouse or people who are close to us, but yet we don't do it, or we rehearse those lines over and over again, and then the moment has passed. So today, what I want to do is take you through 6 real reasons why we hold back. And then I want to deal with the 3 powerful mindset shifts that can really change that starting now. Okay? So let's look first at the reasons why women over 50 in particular hold back their voice. The first is that we were taught to be nice, not bold. That's how we were socialized oftentimes. That conditioning really taught us to prioritize politeness over presence, to be likable instead of heard. Now, if any of you uh, were raised like that or have experienced that, let me know in the comments, if you will. The second reason why women over 50 hold back is they fear being labeled as too much. Okay. And they feel that they might come off as pushy or emotional or too aggressive if they speak up or speak strongly. Another reason why we in our midlife hold back is that we've really experienced being interrupted or ignored, and we know what it is. And sometimes we feel that, well, our voice really isn't going to make a difference because ain't nobody going to listen to us. We either going to be overlooked or we're going to be ignored. And so we'll keep silent and decide to speak at another time, or this perhaps isn't the right time. Another reason that when we get into midlife, 50s, 60s, 70s, that we hold our voice back is that we second guess ourselves, even when we know we right. And a lot of this has to do with our confidence getting tangled up in perfectionism. Okay, that whatever we believe, that whatever we say, how we say it has got to be exactly right. And so then we are always in this state of being fearful of saying the wrong thing, especially when we're in those high stake situations. And again, that could be at the workplace or at home. Okay. The fifth reason that I want to share with you um, as to why we might be holding back our voices, particularly when we get into midlife, is that oftentimes we're dealing with a lot of life transitions behind the scenes. Okay. So, in other words, we might be grieving a loss. We might be taking care of our parents or grandkids or younger children, or we're in menopause, or that there's these shifts that are occurring that's happening to us personally, and these shifts have a way of shaking our clarity, our confidence, our identity, or particularly our energy. And that shows up in the way we speak. Okay, you with me? So again, we're experiencing these things in midlife and they affect us. Because if you at home and let's say you had an argument, or you and your spouse just experienced a traumatic happening in your life, or you've lost a loved one and you're still in the grieving process, you know how you feel. Your energy isn't 100%. You're in a state of not being really sure about how things are going. And it's difficult to be clear and have the kind of clarity that you want, so you don't speak up. And then the last reason I wanted to share with you why women over 50 may hold their voice is because we're used to being the fixer of things, not necessarily the voice. Okay? Y'all know what I'm talking about when I'm saying that. Years of holding down families and teams and what we do at work and in the community, we're often supporting others, fixing things, and um, instead of asserting our own needs or perspectives. I remember working in a campaign, not in Detroit, in Philadelphia, working in a um, campaign to elect uh, a very influential leader to a state legislature position. And the campaign manager was this sister who was brilliant. I mean, she was just brilliant. She had been places, done things. She was just excellent and really had some really deep thinking and perspective. But all she did was run the campaign, be in the background, make sure that things ran the way that they should. Now that's good. Ain't nobody knocked her for that. We were happy for that. But oftentimes in those kinds of situations, particularly when you have someone as experienced and brilliant as this campaign manager was, we wanted to hear her perspective. And every time I remember turning to her often, folk would do that and say, well, what do you think? And she would say, listen, I'm just here making sure things go right. We're used to making sure that things go right. We're the fixer. We support, but being in that spot where we speak up and express our own needs and perspectives doesn't come as easily as it does when we're supporting things and fixing things. So those are several reasons why we hold back our voice as a woman in midlife. The summary of all that is we definitely have the experience. We often have the credentials. We've gotten to the place that we are at now because we have achieved. But we still find ourselves second guessing our words, not speaking up when we know what the deal is, feeling that we're too much, and so we'll keep quiet, or feeling that our words won't be as clear as we would like them to be. And there are reasons for that I've just gone through. So now that we've talked about that, and if you all have other things that affect the ways in the house that you speak and when you speak up and how you communicate, let's hear it. Put it in the comments. Be delighted to look at those reasons. So those are the why behind what it is we do, or how it is we speak, and whether or not we speak up. Now I want to talk about some of the mindset shifts that we'll need in order to speak up more, in order to make sure that our voice is heard. Because, it really is about owning our voice. And we have such an excellent platform. We're at a wonderful stage in life, which is midlife, for us to speak. Why are you saying that, Dr. Geneva? I'm saying it because we know a thing or two. We bad. We know a thing or two. And the world needs to hear our voice. And we need to hear our voice and know that we're speaking up. So that's why this is, I think, a very critical um, conversation it's important to have. Okay, so um, I want to remind all of you as I move along here and I'm moving into the mindset shifts that we need, that tomorrow, and for any of you who are calling in from around the world, I want you to know that tomorrow I'm hosting a live workshop on Zoom, so you can come on, where I'm going to be giving you some of the real specific techniques that you can use. And I've developed a method. It's called CLEAR, the CLEAR method. It's a methodology that I use, and I use with the women I work with. And so we're going to have this workshop. We got a video. You want to run that video? Ever hesitated to speak up? Even when you knew exactly what to say. Maybe you overthink, second guess, or play small in rooms where you should be owning your space. You're not alone. I created the Speak with Confidence workshop for women like us, high achievers, smart, experienced, who still perhaps find themselves holding back when it matters most. I'm Dr. Geneva. I've led organizations and businesses, raised over $100 million for causes I care about, and built a life of impact. And I did this by learning how to speak with clarity and power and presence. But I had to learn how to do it my way without shrinking or pretending. In this 75-minute live Zoom workshop I've created for you, happening on Thursday, May 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll show you the exact strategies I use to walk into any room, speak up, and be heard without having to change who you are. And it's just $47. So if this sounds like you, come join me. I'll show you how to speak with confidence on camera, in meetings, or anywhere your voice needs to be heard. The link is right here. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow on Zoom. So let's get into the mindset shifts that you need to help you speak up more with power. And again, I get into these techniques, but even deeper in the workshop tomorrow at 6 p.m. The first shift I want to talk to you about is moving from good girl to grown woman power. Okay. And I do believe that this oftentimes is the biggest one, this good girl conditioning. And you know what I mean, that quiet agreement that we made somewhere along the way that said, be nice, be polite, don't interrupt, don't rock the boat. So if you've had that experience, I want to know about it in the comments. But here's the truth about that. That politeness can become a prison for us. Women over 50 often tell me, I don't want to come off too aggressive. And they'll say that. And I think we even had a comment about particularly, coming off as angry or too aggressive. I get that all the time from women. And they'll tell me they don't want to be that way. But then when I ask, well, do you feel aggressive or angry, or do you just want to be clear? Is that how you feel? That You're feeling the need for clarity and helping people understand that. Um, they pause because what we're really afraid of is being perceived as too much. Not that we are, but that we'd be perceived as too much. But you know what? The one thing I've learned that when you can help clarify things, that's not really rude, it's leadership. And there are ways to do that. When you hold back your truth to protect someone else's comfort, who's paying the price in that? Um, you bring value by speaking up, period. And so I think it's important for us to let go of the good girl energy because that story has expired. It's gone. We need to, you know, you're a grown woman and you're allowed to take up space. Now, I often get from the women that I coach on this, they'll nod. They say, "Yeah, I get it. I want to do that. I get it." Um, but it's going to take some time, and not in every situation are you going to be practicing this uh, every single time. All we're talking about here is that mindset shift, which is the first step. And I'm encouraging you to think about that good girl conditioning and recognize that you are a grown ass woman. Okay? You are. And that speaking up and speaking your truth and being clear about that is what the world needs. You can take up space. The second mindset shift that I want to talk about, that it's very important for us as female leaders and influencers and women who make a difference in life, the shift to have so that we speak up is moving from I need more credentials to my lived experience is enough. Okay. And how many times this comes up, I'm going to tell you, because, and I ask you, how many times have you said to yourself or thought or said to others, who am I to say this? Okay. Even with decades of experience that we have, we still question our expertise. You need to stop that. Stop it. Um, you know, society has really taught us that, if we don't have the title or a certificate or a degree or something, our words don't hold weight. And, let's call that what it is, nonsense. That's complete nonsense. I was talking to uh, one of my clients who was feeling this way, that she really loved a particular aspect of her work. And she wanted to, one of her dreams was to teach it, to talk about it, maybe even start a podcast around it. And so I was excited for her. I said, "Oh, that sounds so wonderful. When are you going to do that?" And she said, "Well, I need to go back to school, get some more credits, get my degree and this and that." And I stopped and I said, "Well, wait a minute. You've been working this thing, doing this thing for 20 plus years. Um, you've got experience in this." So she said, "Yes." I said, "Is there anything about this particular subject or field that you don't know or you haven't experienced?" And she thought, and she said, "No, there really isn't." I said, "Girl, move on, move forward." You can now, if you want to get a degree or a title or more certification in a particular area, hey, go ahead and do that. You know, I'm a big advocate of lifelong learning. That keeps us young and vibrant. We need to stay curious and always build our skills. But getting that should not stand in the way of you immediately starting on something that you've had lived experience in and you can share your knowledge. So it's absolutely critical for us to move from that. I don't have the credentials or I don't have the title, I don't have the degree or whatever those things are, to your woman power because of who you are, where you are, and your lived experience. Okay. You don't need permission. Hear me now. You don't need permission to share what you know. Okay. That's the deal. Your lived experience is already valuable. And then again, you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. That means you don't have to wait until you arrive. You are the room. You are the source. So speak like it. Okay. I love this quote from Michelle Obama that says, "It's not about being perfect. It's about allowing yourself to be known and heard in using your authentic voice." Okay, there it is. Questions or comments, please put them in the chat. The third mindset shift I want to go over with you, and this is one of my favorites. It's a shift that we need to take to really raise up our ability to speak, to use our voice, to own our voice. And when we own the voice, we own the room. Okay. And in both professional and personal situations. Okay. And this mindset shift is from "I'll wait for the right time" to "this is the right time." Okay. And this one is really sneaky. And I hear a lot of excuses around this one, you know, because from the surface, well, you wait for the right time. It sounds reasonable, doesn't it? You want to be prepared as you can. You say to yourself, well, I'll speak more when I've prepared more. And but here the real talk, the real deal talk. That waiting is really wearing you out because you're always prepping and polishing and rehearsing and practicing, but never stepping in. And, you know, I really believe in all my experience, all the organizations I've run, people I've coached, uh, I want to be real with you. The right time isn't coming. That perfect moment, that's really a myth. It is. And waiting until you're 100% ready, you be waiting for a long time. Okay. And we know that women are less inclined to jump in, like for a job, and say, look at the qualifications and see that they don't meet all of them. They might meet a list of 10, they might meet 6 and say, well, I'm not qualified for that. I need the other 4. We wait and don't apply because of that. And that constant feeling, I have to wait, I have to be perfect, it has to be the right time, um, doesn't work for us. And the thing is, don't wait till you're 100% ready. Say the thing you want to say now, ask the question now, offer the idea now. Okay? Because your voice won't strengthen by staying silent. It strengthens only through your speaking. And this is what really makes the difference, because when you're speaking and you take that leap into saying, well, I'm going to say it now, that's practicing. You practice it. You go on and say it now. You'll get all kinds of reactions, and it's okay. And then the next time, you'll feel more confident about saying your truth again, using that time. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that you find these situations and you speak up because it's the right time and you end up being rude because somebody else is speaking or the meeting is over, what have you. We always immediately go to those things, those exceptions. I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about what you would do as a normal course of business, as a normal course of living your life, that you would shift your mindset from waiting for the perfect moment to the time is now. Okay. So, again, I want you to think about these mindset shifts and the reasons we've talked about why women over 50 in particular struggle with using their authentic voice and speaking up and second guessing themselves. We've gone over the reasons. There are the mindset shifts I'd love for you to really think about um, and put into practice. So, if you have questions about any of this, let's put it in. I have time for a few questions. And also, I want to remind you, please come to our workshop tomorrow. I'll be diving deeper into this, but at the workshop, I'm going to be giving you some specific tactics, strategies you can use to overcome to not hold up your voice, because your voice, you've got a voice, you've got to speak up. And let me just say why this is such an important topic for me. My company is named Dr. Geneva Speaks. And some of you may think, well, it's because I have had years of giving presentations, speaking before audiences, raising millions of dollars. So you need to know how to be able to communicate and articulate the case, etc. But that's not why I named my company Dr. Geneva Speaks. I named it because after I lost my husband and my parents all within the same time, and I was truly lost and in a very, very dark place, I literally lost my voice. And what I mean by that is I was fearful about doing most things, and it was speaking up. I didn't want to go back into um, all the speeches and the presentations and all those things that I had done. I was afraid. I doubted myself. I didn't have the confidence. I lost my voice. And as I began to pull my way out of that and find my purpose and what I wanted to do on a go forward basis, and believing that I was going to go forward and that my life had not ended and that I had choices I could make, I began to regain my voice and be able to, and um, learned again. I had to relearn how to speak, how to articulate, how to communicate what I wanted and what my purpose was. And God's assignment for me became so much clearer. And in order for me to do that, I had to speak. And that's why my company is named Dr. Geneva Speaks. And so, one of the things that is very, very important for me is to help, particularly women who are in midlife, make sure that they're using their voice authentically and how they really want to. Because when you speak and share your value and your wisdom, you change lives, you impact, you make things different and better. And that is what I'm so interested in. And that's part of the legacy work that I'm doing now. So, this workshop tomorrow is part of that process of teaching some very specific strategies. And also, we'll spend some time practicing, which, is really great. So, we'll actually practice how you can rediscover, rebuild, re energize your voice as I did with mine. So I appreciate everyone listening. Oh, we've got a lot of questions. Okay. Here's one question. What if I do speak up but get shut down again? How do I handle that in the moment? Oh, wow. That's a good one. I love that. Well, the first thing I would suggest to you is take a deep breath. Okay. And I really mean this because this is one of the strategies that I often use as I'm getting shut down, which I have lots of times. I take a deep breath because the main thing is I want to make sure that I address the issue, continue to address the issue, and not the person, the fool, the dummy, or whomever is trying to block me. I want to address the issue, which is the second thing. Keeping your mind focused on the purpose, the intent of what you're trying to say, the point you're trying to get across, because you'll get it. People will laugh, roll their eyes, all kinds of body language, verbally cut you off. Keep focused on what it is that you're trying to say. And thirdly, you can do it with a smile. Like, I hear what you're saying, but let me stay on point. I believe, and then go ahead with what you're saying. And then a PS to it. What I would do is I would go up to the person afterwards, after whoever it was who shut me down. I'd find a way to get up and talk to the person. Said, I feel like you were shutting me down with my idea. Is that what you were doing? Or you can go very nicely and professionally go and handle that as well. Okay. Let me know your thoughts in terms of that response. Here's another question, which is related. How do I speak up without being seen as combative? Okay, couple things here. First of all, this goes back to our number one concern about how we're perceived. What I'm suggesting to you, not that how you're perceived isn't important. Hear me now. I'm not saying that. I'm just suggesting what takes first place, what gets first position. And what gets first position is how you are, how you feel. What clarity, wisdom, and value do you want to bring? Do you feel about yourself? I'm suggesting that that mindset take first position. Okay. And so that would be the really the first thing. And our and then secondly, of course, that's related, you ask yourself, well, are you being combative? So if you're being combative, now if you up in there for a fight, well, that's one thing. But if you're not combative, if that's not what you're trying to do, if that's not even the point or the issue, then it really is about how you're seen or perceived that's in your head. Because if your story is, hey, I'm true, I want to get this authentic point over, I want to help, I want to provide the wisdom, then do that. Okay. Um, and so then if you, and what I'm suggesting to you is that if your mindset is in that place, then your words will help be very clear. The other thing, and we'll do some of these techniques in my workshop tomorrow, because this is a common one I know I've faced a whole bunch of times, particularly being the only woman of color around in most rooms. You get that tendency to get that label of angry Black woman when you're dealing with a point. And there were, as I was young, I would, in my younger days, I'd keep my mouth shut because I didn't want to, in my head, I'd be saying, what? Why are they saying that? Why do they do that? That's not right. My head, oh, that's some stuff in my head, but nothing would come out until I learned how to have those words come out to change my mind about things. So instead of me saying, what is it they're talking about? That doesn't make sense. My mind shift was to, I'm going to speak on this because it's not making sense what the truth of the matter is, and I'm the one who can articulate that. And interestingly, once I began to do that, my career shifted. My career took off because besides the fact, because there wasn't anybody else speaking it. and so and so I would practice and practice. It was scary. Yeah. Okay, but when we think about what we've been through as women, I mean, there's a whole lot more of the scary things than speaking up on some wisdom or something in a meeting. Okay. Um, do you have advice for what to do when the inner critic flares up while I'm speaking? Wow. Okay. So I'm assuming that inner critic you're talking about is that little voice that says, you don't know enough. Why are you speaking up? Um, you know, you shouldn't be saying that, second guessing yourself. I'm assuming that's what you mean when you say inner critic. Yeah. Well, one of the things is some advice I would say. First of all, you're not alone. We all go through it. Understand that. Take a deep breath, okay? And understand that you can, and number two, you can learn, you can develop the skills to quiet that inner critic and speak in your authentic voice. I think the third thing is to let's really tackle that inner critic. What is it saying? What story has it told you? Is it telling you? Because that story, whatever it is probably old school, out of date, expired. Okay. So if the inner critic is saying to you, well, usually when I speak up, people don't listen. Let's say that's what the inner critic is saying to you. Well, I would suggest that you really examine that story you're telling yourself, what that critic is saying. Is that really true? So you mean every single time you speak up, no one listens? I don't think that's really true. And I would begin to think about the times when you do speak up and you're listened to. What's happening then? And I would dare say more times you're being listened to. It may be the situations or what have you that you're not giving value to or seeing it as a valuable asset. But when we have those inner critics and those old stories that we tell ourselves, the first thing to do is find the different situations that are different than that so that we can begin to question those old stories and eliminate them. Okay, well, I think that's all the questions I'm getting that we have time for. I hope you've enjoyed uh, this. Okay, I got one more, and it's from Donna. So I'm going to take Donna. I'm going to take your question. I thought it was my girl Donna. In my notes here, when it comes up, it just says from Donna. I said, I wonder if that's my girl Donna Murray Brown. Absolutely. I said, I got to answer this question. How you doing, girlfriend? Do you have advice for someone for when someone co-opts your comments and makes them your own? Girl, hey, we know that be happening all the time, right? When you come out with, you say this fantastic thought, idea, comment, and then it may or may not land. And then 5, 10 minutes later, Joe says the same thing. And everyone, fawns over the idea. Oh, that's so great and wonderful. Is that what I think that's what you're talking about. Um, or, a lot of times you can speak and then people will take what you say and just say it in their own ways. Yes. Well, there's a couple. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of strategies because that happened to me all the time, and I see it happening all the time. I was just in a meeting 2 weeks ago on this very prestigious foundation board that I serve on. And I had come up with this really terrific idea. And I expressed it, and people kind of nodded. You know how it is when you get the nod. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then couldn't have been more than 7 minutes later, somebody else, a man, came up with the exact same thing. And people started talking and, oh, yeah, that's great. And referencing him as the author. So let me tell you, I'll just tell you what I did in that situation. I have a whole lot of tricks and strategies for that. But what I did 2 things. Well, I really did 3 things. The first was I went and did that expression. And, that's taken me a while to get to that. And, so, and the couple people next to me looked and said, what's wrong? I said, oh, I just said that. So I said, Mr. Chair, thank you so much for saying that. That was just what I said a few moments ago. And let me add to that. Okay. So that was the second thing. So I did this expression. Now, you wouldn't do that expression in all times. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I got a whole list of tricks, but that was one. Secondly, I was gracious. I said, oh, really, thanks for reiterating that idea that I just talked about, that I suggested a few minutes ago. And I've got some additional things since everyone seems to, love it. Here's some other things. Okay, move right on. And then the third thing, I actually went up to the individual and said, I am so glad that you re-articulated, that you restated, that you resaid my idea, claimed it, my idea, with a smile. And we got to talking, et cetera, and it turned out really great. So I hope those real life situations, Donna, might help. And then, the other thing is these days, I'm going to be real about this, okay? These days, there's nothing new under the sun. The only thing that's new and unique is what you bring to the table. Can't nobody co-opt that. Can't nobody duplicate that. Your own experience. Okay? So your own experience. Bring that more into the conversation so that if you have an idea or there's some comments, attach a story to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You know, I was working with some clients the other day, and we were talking about such and such. And I suggested that they do XYZ. That's the same thing that I want to suggest to you right now, that we do XYZ, because my experience, da 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 da. Do you understand what I'm saying? That makes that suggestion, idea, comment totally yours because no one else has that unique experience. And you can apply that to um, any situation, you really can. And that's why I think it's so critical for us as women in midlife to lean on, to leverage that wisdom experience we have. I tell my clients, depending on, they bring certain situations, etc., that I want them to sit and reflect on the number of times that they did X, Y, or Z, whatever the situation is. And because we've lived through so much, we have so many experiences and situations and examples and things that happened, and reflect on that and learn to incorporate your stories, your experiences into your conversations. Not only does it make your conversations more interesting, it clearly sets you apart because you're unique and no one can have the stories like you do. They're like fingerprints. Okay. So I hope that's helpful to you. Um, it's time to go. I have just enjoyed being here with you. I hope you have found this valuable. Please let me know. Oh, Donna. Oh, great. Donna's going to be at the workshop tomorrow again. Listen, come on, y'all. Come on over. I'm going to be teaching some real specific strategies and tactics. And again, wherever you are in the world, you can come because it's on Zoom and it's live streaming. And again, the reason, well, I've told you the reason that I'm doing this, because again, I just want to give out these gems and things that I've learned through my lived experience. I'm leveraging my lived experience to serve you better. That's what I want you to do. I want you to learn how to do that because you bad. Okay, I'll see you all. Mwah. Love you. See you next week, same time, Wednesday, 9 o'clock. Hope to see you tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. in the workshop, Speak with Confidence. Bye. Ever hesitated to speak up, even when you knew exactly what to say? Maybe you overthink, second guess, or play small in rooms where you should be owning your space. You're not alone. I created the Speak with Confidence workshop for women like us, high achievers, smart, experienced, who still perhaps find themselves holding back when it matters most. I'm Dr. Geneva. I've led organizations and businesses, raised over $100 million for causes I care about, and built a life of impact. And I did this by learning how to speak with clarity and power and presence. But I had to learn how to do it my way without shrinking or pretending. In this 75-minute live Zoom workshop I've created for you, happening on Thursday, May 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'll show you the exact strategies I use to walk into any room, speak up, and be heard without having to change who you are. And it's just $47. So if this sounds like you, come join me. I'll show you how to speak with confidence on camera, in meetings, or anywhere your voice needs to be heard.